Good afternoon, everybody. This is Sandra Sheffred, the host of Racing the Races. So I was going to wait until 6 o'clock and get started, but I was like, let me go ahead and start this show right now. Start this show right now. So give me 1 sec. Let me play that start music, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll go ahead and get started with the show. Elections have consequences. All right, y'all. Good afternoon, Sandra Sheffred. Okay, so I don't have the straight hair today. My shirt a little messed up. I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Sandra Sheffred, host of Racing the Races. So y'all see me here by myself. I didn't mean to be by myself, but I'm gonna be by myself today just because the topic is about the school board, and I might say some things on here. And I didn't want any guests or any co-hosts to get associated with what I said just in case they disagree with me. So I said, let me go ahead and just do the show by myself. I'll probably only be on for about like 30 minutes or so because I'm going to make my point and then I'm going to go on about my business today. Excuse the face. Y'all know it's 1,000 degrees outside and I just came from out there, so excuse the face. All right, so what I want to talk about today. So I am going to talk about the Broward County School Board. I participated in the meeting in support of someone that I know that have been having some issues with the school board. And I just wanted, I went in, made a statement. So if you saw the board meeting, you probably saw that I did that. And then I listened to the board. It was on item number 2. Relating to the mom who had an issue with her transgender child, and she did change his sex there was some question about whether she did it herself or if she had someone do it on her behalf. And as a consequence to the students that played with her daughter, they ended up the school ended up having to pay a fine of some sum of like $16,000. I believe the girls team had to forfeit some of the games, which may have some long-term consequences on those young ladies in their sports future, right? So that was one of the items. And the other item was relating to a suspension for Dr. Shaw. And so I went there and I spoke on behalf of Dr. Shaw. So this is how I left that meeting. I left that meeting basically seeing how much the bias that exists on the board. So folks may disagree with me, and again, that's the reason why I was like, you know what, I don't want to put a guest on unless they feel the way I feel about this particular issue, because I left that board meeting feeling very strongly about the things that I'm about to say today. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna go back a little bit. There was a forum that the NAACP had that had board members, all the ones that are running right now, because there are 4 seats that are open. 1, 2, 3, 5, and 9 are all open. And so they had those board members go to the NAACP meeting. And I was actually supposed to do a video after that. But, life be life in and things kind of happen. And I didn't get a chance to speak on that. So I'm going to make some comments about what I observed that night, too. The show Racing the Races did go live. I found out way into it that our audio wasn't the best. And so, if you listen hard, you can probably hear what was said, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But I want to focus my first set of comments on what happened at that board meeting yesterday, just with the item number 2. The rest of it, I want to speak on it because I didn't sit through all of it, but I did sit through item number 2, and I participated in that. And I have to say, I left that board meeting, and basically I've decided that Debbie Hickson has lost my vote. There's no way I will vote for her during the primary after what I saw that took place at that board meeting on yesterday. All right. So she lost my vote. I don't know what she could do to get it back. But what I saw happen there at that meeting, there's no way I'm going to vote for her. And so let's talk about that. Right. So the first thing is I'm in the academic space, and I'm trained on like microaggression and implicit biases and things like that, right? That's one of the things you need to be aware of, because you want to make sure that you're operating and you're dealing with people truly in the space, from a place of really who they are, and you're not bringing your own junk or your own feelings into the conversation or into your interaction with them, right? Now, when we think of implicit bias, we typically think about it in like a negative way, right? Like it's always something bad. But you can have an implicit bias that make you do things that are favorable to someone, right? You could just be nicer to one person than you are to someone else because a bias exists, right? So implicit bias doesn't always mean that you're going to treat a person in a terrible way or in a bad way. It can also mean because you have that bias, you have a preference for a particular type of person, and you will treat them better than you might treat somebody else. Okay. And so that's what I saw happen at the board meeting yesterday. That's what I saw happen at the board meeting. In me calling it implicit bias, I think that's me being generous, because it could be more than that. It could have been intentional. They could have been fully aware of what it is that they were doing. So I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna just go ahead and be nice and want to believe that they may not have been able to recognize what it is that they were doing in that moment when they were making those decisions, right? And I'm gonna say they, because it wasn't just her, but she's the at-large member. I have an opportunity to vote for her, and I'm not, okay? And when I say her, I mean Debbie Hickson. I'm not voting for her at all, because she made some comments that were very problematic. So let's back up and talk a little bit about that. So Dr. Shaw had an issue with the school board, and she went to contest, which she has a right to do, and they have to bring it to the board, because part of the whole process is the board has to agree with the recommendations that were being made. So she came and presented her case. Mind you, this is also with the mother who had her transgender child. She was there was a recommendation made. Some said to give her a 10-day suspension. Others were like, yo, straight up fire her, because not only did she break Broward County School Board policy, she also broke the law. And they know she broke the law. She broke the law. She broke Broward School Board policy. And what's the most incredible part of the whole thing is, like, she said she would do it again. She was like, I don't have no regrets about what I did. And if I had an opportunity, I would do it again, right? So showing no remorse, no regrets, no nothing, right? About breaking the law. Breaking the law, breaking school board policy, all that, right? And she basically said she would do it again. The recommendation was to terminate her. Debbie Hickson and all the rest of those people on that board, they went there talking like, oh no, that shouldn't happen. It should only be like 5 days. I understand her perspective from a mother and all of this thing, right? And they were reminded that this is not about her as a mother. This is about what she did as a Broward County School Board, a Broward County public school employee. You know what I'm saying? We're mothers, and those of us who are mothers, who are fathers, who are parents, grandparents, guardians, caretakers. However, yes, there might be some things that you may do in your personal capacity, but when you're in your professional setting, and it may be different from that, and you have to behave in your professional capacity when you're operating the space of your profession, right? So with this being understood, that this woman broke the law, broke Broward County School Board protocol, have no regrets about it, and would absolutely do it again. Recommendation was for her to be fired. There was arguments going back and forth for a 5-day suspension. When it became clearly obvious that they were not going to get the votes on this 5, they went ahead and settled on the 10, and the board voted on this woman getting a 10-day suspension, even though she violated the law, right? Broke the law, brought the cameras out there for the sympathy and all of that kind of stuff, right? All right, so now let mind you, this is a white woman. I'm saying that because that's part of the point that I want to make. We transition to Dr. Shaw, who has an incidence that doesn't even rise to the level of those actions. There was investigations being done that violated, even Broward County Public Schools didn't even follow their own procedure while they were doing this investigation. They did not follow their own procedure when they did this investigation. So the investigation in itself is flawed, and they know it, right? So now the reason why Debbie Hickson lost my vote yesterday is because she made a statement. Either the statement was inflammatory on purpose, or she didn't do her homework, right? Or she didn't read the file and she did not know what's going on. Either one of those situations does not mean that person should be on the board. You come in on the board unprepared, or if you're intentionally making inflammatory statements, those are not characteristic of what a good board member makes, right? She made this comment about Dr. Shaw's role in part of the investigation, or what she either didn't know or didn't care to know was the statements that were attributed to Dr. Shaw. It turns out that she was cleared of those charges, and it turns out that did not happen at all. Do you understand what I'm saying? So Debbie Hickson goes on the record to something that's being live streamed on YouTube, Facebook. People are in the room. News cameras were there. She makes a statement that either she didn't prepare by fully reading the file to know that Dr. Shaw was cleared of those charges, and it turned out that they were unsubstantiated, unfounded, didn't happen, whatever. She was cleared of those charges. And if she did know that, then she purposely went and found some inflammatory statements that were part of a document and made those statements and it's unacceptable, right? To me, she needs to just the way she publicly said those things that were unfounded, she needs to publicly pull them back and take back what she said, right? And that's the only way, you disrespect and you do things wrong in public, you need to fix it in public too. You don't get to fix it or apologize privately. All right. So that was the mess with what happened at the school board, and why I'm telling you, and I'm voting, okay? I'm voting, and I'm telling you I'm not voting for Debbie Hickson. Infer what you want from that, right? Infer what you want from that. But I will absolutely vote like I always do since the time I became a United States citizen in 1996. I voted in every single election, no matter where it is that I was living. And I will vote again in the primaries. And I will not vote for her because of not what she did wasn't just about an isolated incident. Understand me. It's not an isolated incident. It has now, to me, become a pattern in practice. And this is basically how she rolls, right? She's going to walk on glass for white women to protect them in their job. So not only did they give like a 10-day suspension, they also said that woman has to get a job that pays her the same amount of money, right? Like, I don't know how that's going to happen because she can't have access to any school records, but she wants to get paid the same amount of money. So if they end up having to have her work in the cafeteria, she's going to make whatever she was making with the last job she had because her salary is protected, right? And not only is her salary protected, she cannot be non-renewed at the end of the year unless she does something else. Now, the lady already told you she's going to keep rolling the way she's rolling, so she just may do something new. Who knows? But her job is protected, and she's protected from not being non-renewed based on the conduct that she has already exhibited, unless, maybe she does something else again, right? Protected that woman at all costs, right? Then we go, I'm going back to Dr. Shaw, where the statements that Debbie Hickson made in that board meeting in front of all those people with a YouTube audience and a Facebook audience and Beacon TV audience and all of that were not substantiated, right? They did not prove. They proved that Dr. Shaw did not say any of those things. So either Debbie Hickson wasn't prepared when she went there and said that, or she did it on purpose and it was inflammatory, right? Now, mind you, Dr. Shaw spoke about these allegations that she's trying to deal with, and she explained what the financial impact would be based on this situation. Nobody cared about that. Nobody's interested in protecting their job. There's like, too bad, so sad, whatever, right? So demotion and everything came with that. And the reason why I'm saying these things is because they were already said in public. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying outside anything that I learned outside of what was said at the board meeting, right? So when you put that in contrast, and the fact that those two items are being dealt with at the same time, and we see the difference in the way with the outcomes are, you gotta think like, what's really going on here, right? And on top of that, board member Alston had made certain requests of staff to prepare for this meeting, for the meeting that took place yesterday. Staff came unprepared and basically said, you ain't asked us to do that. We don't know what you're talking about. The board members, we don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember you asking for that. And so he was like, run the tape. Go run the tape. Go run the tape. And they ran the tape. And what he said he had requested, he did. They were supposed to meet with Dr. Shaw before, and they did it, right? So here you go. They just don't even care. They ain't worried about that black woman and what she going through, no matter what the impact is to her, right? So then now they have to find some time to go ahead and have this meeting, have this discussion, and we'll see what the outcome of that will be, right? But let me tell you, y'all board, you guys are put on notice. Let me tell you, you guys are put on notice for the nonsense that's happening there, okay? You guys are put on notice for the nonsense that's happening there. You need to fix it. You absolutely need to fix it, because I'm telling you, lost my vote, and not only my vote, because remember, your seat is countywide, okay? That ain't limited to no jurisdiction. That's all over this county, and so people all over this county watch this show. People all over this county know folks who watch this show, and I done said it. I said it, and I meant it, and I'm gonna stand on that. You know what I'm saying? Until there's some resolution to that, she needs to retract that slanderous, libelous statement that was made because it was untrue, unfounded, and she put that on the record of all the things to say, for a person that's been with the school board for over 30 years. You're gonna go say some stuff like that, either because you're not prepared, or you were just trying to be salacious and have some sort of headline and stuff like that, which is not okay, absolutely not okay, or to just find something to say to justify the fact that the school board and the school system has consistently allowed people there to hit students, sexually assault students, and come to work drunk and do all kind of stuff, right? And then give them a pat on the back. And now all of a sudden, y'all, you want to be, well, since you said, we were being slack then, now it's time to be tough. Now it's time to be tough on a person that there's no allegations that there were no hands put on no student, right? But now you want to be tough when it was words that was statements that were said that were found to be inaccurate. And then now all of a sudden you want to be tough after y'all done let people hit people, children, abuse people, children, sexually assault people, children, call them the N-word, because I had a show on that like 2-3 years ago where this teacher was out here calling students the N-word with no consequence. And then now all of a sudden, when the black woman comes up there, you can't humanize her at all. Because what y'all did to the mother of the transgender students was y'all humanized her. You saw her as a mother. You saw her as a person. You saw her as a woman, and you gave her grace because you saw that. And then the black woman steps up, and she can't get that grace. She's not humanized. You're not worried about how this cut is going to impact her life financially. That's no bueno, no bueno, no bueno. I don't support that. Okay, and I got a whole bunch of problems with that, and anybody can go. You could come talk to me. You could call me. You got my number. You know where to find me. You come and talk to me about this, because I'm telling you, you absolutely lost my vote for the way you for what happened at that board meeting on Tuesday. That was absolutely, totally unacceptable. So y'all call it what you want. That race is considered a nonpartisan race. And so I'm going to exercise my right to vote, and I'm going to vote, and it will absolutely not be for Debbie Hickson. Okay. And I said what I said, and I stand on that. And I press you to do the same. You should absolutely do the same, because either she coming to work unprepared, ain't read the record, don't know what's going on, or she out here just, saying stuff out of the side of her mouth to justify the fact that she don't want to exercise the same amount of humanity and grace for a woman of color that's coming in front of her, telling her how she's been harmed after having a stellar career in the school board. Okay. All right. So I said what I said on that. Now let's go back to that NAACP panel with all these school board members. Oh, there was okay. So I'm gonna go. Let me take another step back and go back to the meeting that happened yesterday. Right. So one of the other things that we need to be concerned about with these folks that are trying to get on the board and the ones that are trying to stay on the board. Okay. So they go on the school board because they're supposed to worry about getting children educated. Okay, that's why they're there. That's why you send them there. They're supposed to be advocating for children, making sure the kids get all the things that they need. I'm gonna tell you, that ain't why they're there now, right? Most of the folks who are trying to stay on the board, and some of the people who are trying to get on the board, they're getting on the board for real estate, because and we understand that across the country, schools are closing because people have options now. They can go to charter schools, they can go to private schools at the expense of public school funds. They could do that. And listen, I'm not talking about charter school. I got a kid in charter school. I got a kid in charter school, and I got a kid in public school. So I'm not judging no parent on the decision that they think they need to make sure that their child get the best education in the best setting that they need, right? So I'm not judging nobody on that, right? But now we're in a situation where buildings are having to be sold. Well, I don't know if they have to be sold, but that's what they're telling us, that they got to sell the buildings. And it just so happens they want to go sell more buildings in communities that they've neglected for so long, right? So we need to think about this. You have to think about this. Why it is that the buildings that they want to sell first are the buildings that are in Black neighborhoods, right? Listen, I live in a neighborhood where I'm telling you, there's probably there's 4 elementary schools within a mile or a mile and a half of each other. There's 4 within a mile and a half, no more than 2 miles of each other, right? Those schools are under-enrolled, but they ain't trying to close none of them. But they want to go close these schools in Black neighborhoods that they underserved, underfunded, and didn't do the right thing for forever. And now you want to go and act like you're trying to do something for them. No, you're not trying to do anything for them, for the people in that community. You're trying to do something for yourself. You're trying to do something for their friends. You're trying to do something for those contractors that donated to your campaign. That's who you're trying to do stuff for, right? And that's not okay, right? That's not okay, and it shouldn't be respected, and it absolutely should not be rewarded by a vote on August the 20th. It should not be rewarded with a vote on August the 20th, okay? When you have people that are allowing construction companies and all these folks to donate to their campaigns, because especially in a time when, construction, sales of buildings and all of those things are on the ballot. You think those people giving you money for no reason? They're giving money because they believe that's that ideological money that you learn about when you start understand fundraising, right? Those people are donating money to you because they think you guys are ideologically inclined. So that sounds like you cool with the developers, and that's why you're taking their money and you're acting like you're trying to you're going to the school board for the benefit of children. That ain't what you're doing. And the people who are donating to you is basically telling the story of why it is that you're actually going on the board. And that's okay. That's not okay. And I ain't supporting that. And I encourage the rest of you not to support that either, because the children have been, particularly in communities with black children and brown children too, but in communities that are historically Black, every time you turn around, they get in the short end of the stick. And very few people, I should say, I don't want to say no one, very few people are making decisions that's in the best interest of those children and in those communities, okay? And so we better not, I'm telling you all, we better not during this election cycle. Early voting starts August the 10th. So you get to early vote from August the 10th all the way to August the 18th. Ballots already came in the mail. If you had requested your vote by mail ballot, you already have it. The last day you can request it is August the 8th. So you can still order one if you want to. But I do encourage you to just go on in and early vote during that time. So early voting starts August the 10th to the 18th. And the last day you get to vote some of these people out is on August the 20th, right? Because what we don't need is what's going on with this board right now. If you pay attention to the board meetings that have been happening this year, when have they talked about what they're going to do for these kids in the schools? No. Every board meeting is about some contract that they're trying to figure out if they should pay for, some consultant that they're trying to figure out if they're going to pay. I think they went through about 3 or 4 superintendents this last school year, which was also contracts, and they spent time negotiating how much they're going to pay people for them to leave their job, stay on their job, go take another job. You know what I'm saying? And then other folks, knowing that the stuff about to hit the fan and they don't want to get caught up in it, are leaving, right? People are getting new positions, getting promoted, and then 2 weeks later, they're like, yeah, so what happened was that I'm not going to take this position. I'm resigning. I'm going somewhere else, right? There's a reason for that, y'all. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that, right? So the other thing that came out of our meeting was about having some there's something about an audit. Daniel Fogan-Harley, who's running for for the seat in District 1, he presently holds that seat, and he's running to keep that seat in District 1. Brought forth an item where, you know, they would audit, you know, not only the contractors, people who get the contracts, also the subcontractors, right? And you know, they had whoever, you know, they always have the expert that never have all the information, but just got enough. But they did say, like, you know what he's asking for is reasonable, right? I mean, there's ways that, you know, like, I mean, if they run into an issue and they realize they need to audit, they would have to come back to the board and ask for it. But what he's asking for is something that's not outside of the scope with what they should be doing in the first place anyway. And some of the board members are saying no, right? And one of the board members that was saying no is a board member that got a brother that got contracts with the school board. Y'all, come on now, right? And then, you know, there's some of the other board members, not only were they saying no, they were saying no to all of this because, you know, there's some, you know, there's words in the streets that, you know, that they may be in bed, you know, with some of these contractors too. Listen, when if an item comes up, and it's for the best interest of like these for this board and their financial situation, and people out here saying no, please think about why they say no. Please think about why they say no. Why would you want to say no to something that's going to help y'all save money or make sure y'all not spending money the wrong way, since clearly y'all have been spending money wrong because y'all don't know where them $800 million at or where they go or what happened. Nobody knows. The money gone, nothing built. Places still need rules. Cafeterias still not built. All this other kind of stuff, right? So please pay attention to this, right? Please pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. And listen. Listen, I am true blue, right? But at the end of the day, I hope my mama ain't raised no fool. Right. And if you're going to say that you're an advocate and you want to do the things that's right, you can't stand on that. You just can't. You can't stand on foolishness. You can't stand on foolishness. You can't stand on nonsense. These folks are on this board for their own ulterior motive. They lied to you and told you that they were there for the best interest of the children. And their records are telling you that ain't why they're there. And pay attention to that. Their records are telling you that they are not there to do the business of the kids, because I can't remember how many hours that they actually spent doing the business of the children. They spent so much time trying to get out of the financial mess that they got themselves into. They spent however many board meetings to go pay the charter schools that they knew since 2021 that they shouldn't have been paying. They thought it was 80 million. Now it's over 100. You know, listen, that's not doing the business of kids. That's not doing the business of kids. They're trying to give raises that they can't pay for. They're giving contracts that they can't afford. You know, it's too much shenanigans that's going on there that all of those individuals don't deserve to keep their job. Now, a couple of them do. You know, a couple of them do, but a lot of them, send them home to go find something else to do and go bother something else and go let their consulting business flourish without the knowledge that they're gaining from being on the school board of Broward County. Okay. All right. So that's that. Now we're going to get to, I said I was going to talk a little bit about that NAACP panel that happened a couple of weeks ago. So I did go to that. And like I said, we live streamed it. All I can say is that y'all have some decisions to make. Y'all have some decisions to make, and pay attention to why all of a sudden, all of these people who got connections with contractors, builders, and all of these folks are trying to get on this board in the middle of like buildings being sold. Now they're going to try to tell you that, oh, you know, it's because I have experience and I understand that, but that's not the primary part of your job. Right? That ain't nowhere near the primary part of your job. That's why they got the lawyers and all them other people that they paying all this money to do this work. You right? You're supposed to figure out how you can do best by kids. That's what you should be focused about. Not about the fact, well, who cares? You got real estate experience and all of this kind of stuff. That ain't what a school board member is for. I'm not saying it's not part of the job. That ain't what it's for. And remember, people done got into trouble dealing with all this real estate stuff. Okay, so y'all be careful, tread lightly. And what the voters need to do is save you from yourself, because apparently y'all might find yourself getting all caught up. So what I'm gonna need the voters to do is go ahead and just save you from yourself, and don't even put you in that position where you're gonna be tempted to go do some stuff that's going maybe end up with a headline or 2 or 3 or 4. All right, so that's that. So recap, I'm not voting for Debbie Hickson. I don't care what y'all say. I don't care. I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. And I had both Republicans and Democrats come on the show, and I interviewed them. And there's a couple more votes I'm not gonna vote for. So I'm gonna vote for all the people that I can, because it is a nonpartisan race, and it's a few of those folks that are on my ballot. And I'm not throwing away my vote and voting for someone who I know is not going on that, who is not trying to get on that board to do anything that's going to be in the best interest of children. They're going to go in there to negotiate real estate contracts and real estate deals that's going to further hurt and harm communities of color. And I ain't doing that. I'm not participating in it. I don't care. I am blue, true and true. However, y'all ain't deserving of my vote right now. You guys are deserving of my vote, and you're not going to get it. And that's it. You're not deserving of it, and you're not going to get it. And I'm not going to give it to you to assist you in going on to that, go and get on that board and do some things that have nothing to do, that have absolutely nothing to do for the best interest of children. So Debbie Hickson, there's some apologies that need to be made publicly. And if you were right, then all right, go ahead and say that and show that and prove that. But I know you weren't. So either you were wrong because you were unprepared, or you were wrong because you ain't think nobody was going to say nothing about it. Either way, none of those are acceptable, and that's absolutely not okay. And we're not going to tolerate that, right? At least, I ain't standing for it. You ain't getting my vote. I don't care. All right. So early voting, Broward County, August 10th through the 18th. Voting is from 10 to 7. I think it's about almost 30 locations where you can go ahead and vote. August 20th is the absolute last day that you can vote. So seats 2, 3, 5, and 9 will most likely be settled on the 20th, because there are only 2 persons in that race. So whoever comes out with the highest voter, whoever comes out with the highest number of votes in 2, 3, 5, and 9, they'll know that date. So now seat 1 has 3 candidates: Chris Cantor, Mara Bellman, and Daniel Fogenholly. So there's a possibility that race is going to go on until November 20th, unless y'all do what y'all know y'all supposed to do. Y'all know what the right thing is to do in that race. I can't vote there. I wish I could, but I can't. Y'all know what the right thing to do in that. So if you do the right thing, then it may not have to go. It may not have to go all the way to to November the 5th, but there's a possibility that seat 1 might end up on November 5th ballot, but all the rest of them are going to be resolved on August 20th. So I encourage you. I hope you all have registered, but if you haven't, it's okay. Just make sure you register for November 5th. But encourage all of the people who are in fact registered to vote, go ahead and vote and make the right choice, during the primaries, early voting, and on the 20th. So I see a question. Thank you, Sandra. Always putting out great content. Will you be putting out endorsements? So I can't officially put out endorsements, I don't think, but I might. I think I might go ahead and do that. I'm going to try to figure out how to do it. So yeah, I might definitely put out endorsements. I think in this particular election, it's becoming necessary, just because, and I know folks are busy, and it's what's at stake is just a little too much for people to be making decisions on hearing 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute answers, right? And they make those board meetings so long and convoluted that you can't even, if you're not really paying attention, which I'm not saying someone can really spend 11 hours listening to all of the stuff that they're doing and talking about. And when you break it down, all that really should be 2-3 hour meetings. Ain't no daggone reason why those meetings should take all day if those people are really interested in being efficient, right? So I know people can't put in that time. So it's unfair that folks are going to have to make decisions based on hearing 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute responses for these individuals without knowing the full story and the full scope of what it is that they're doing, right? And then the other thing that tends to happen is folks go into friendly spaces to be interviewed. They go into friendly spaces to be interviewed, and they go into friendly spaces to answer questions. So they're answering questions that they probably already know the answer to. I mean, sometimes people ask me for questions, I give it to them, but I still ask them stuff that wasn't on the list of questions, because I ask questions based on what you say to me. Now, if you say some stuff that I was like, oh, that's what we're talking about today, I'm gonna ask you a question about it, right? So we have candidates that go into safe spaces to answer questions, so people don't really get to see them being challenged on, on some of the decisions that they make. So they're thinking everything hunky-dory, and it isn't. It absolutely isn't. So what do you think about the cell phones at the schools? So now, in terms of the cell phones at the schools, I'm gonna go back to the point I was making. So the cell phones at the school. So my son, who goes to a charter school, they weren't allowed to take cell phones into the bathroom. They also had something on their door that when they walked into the classroom, they had to put their phones away anyway. So he was already in a school where that wasn't an issue. My daughter's on the spectrum, so she don't deal with all that sensory stuff. So she never really had her phone out in school. So personally, for me, it's not going to be a big adjustment for my own children. It won't be adjustment for my own children. If something happened in the school and I went to his school, I would go to the front office and they would call him on whatever microphone system they got. One time they told me to call him. I was like, that boy better not answer his phone if I call him. So my children, even though they're addicted to the phone when they're home, in terms of at school, they weren't on their phones in school anyway, right? So I know what we do have to worry about is the safety and security part of all of this, right? Because what if something happens and they don't have their phones on them? How is it that they're going to notify their parents? That's a scary thought, but let's just pray that ain't a scenario that we have, because that's worst possible scenario situation, which we don't want to have to deal with as parents anyway. So I'm just going to believe that they're going to go to school, everything's going to be okay, they're going to get educated, and they're going to return home safely. So I'm okay with them not having their phones in class, because they need to focus on the business of education. And I think the circumstances that would require them to have their phones out is a scenario that I don't want to have to think about, and I don't want my child to be in. So I'm okay with that. Ms. Aretha has asked me, do you think candidates are showing biases based on endorsements? Do endorsements equal responses to community issues? No, not necessarily. I don't think the fact that someone's being endorsed by a particular organization or a particular person means that that they're really in support of the community. I don't think it equals that. I know, like, I mean, the Sun Sentinel has been making some endorsements and they've been wrong, so who knows what it is that, they're deciding on whether or not they should endorse a person or not, right? And then one of the things I've come to learn being really involved in this space in the last few years, it's personality stuff. If they like you, they're going to endorse you. It ain't even really about, do you really support all of their issues? It's like a popularity contest. That's not taken away from endorsements. I'm not saying it takes away from endorsements, because there are some organizations that are truly vetting folks, and they're truly vetting folks, and they really are trying to be as objective as possible when they put out those endorsements. But then there are some that it's personality. They like that person, so they're going to go ahead and endorse them, and that's it. And they don't really care how they stand on certain issues. All right, but this is the first time that I'm going to cross party lines and vote for somebody that's not perceived to be true blue in terms of politics, but in terms of the work they do and how it is that they look out for the best interest for the children in Broward County, and how they've been exposing the things that have been happening that people would have probably never known about had they not brought those issues to the forefront. Yeah, I'm going to do that, because that's exactly what we need. All right, so that's it for the questions in the chat. If y'all came on early, I started off talking about how I'm not going to vote for Debbie Hickson. It's not going to happen. And I'm going to repeat that. And I need y'all to do the same, because No. And so I was supposed to explain why else, right? Because I did say it was a pattern in practice. I also remember when we had to do it with that debacle with Vicky Cartwright, right? I remember when when they were trying to decide to hire her as a permanent superintendent, even though they said if you were the temporary superintendent, you can't be the permanent superintendent, right? So they again decided what they, changed the rules to, make sure this white woman got a job, right? Change the rules to make sure this white woman get the job. So they were like, oh no, we think she's gonna do it, right? And then people were complaining, said no, because she did something with the org chart and started doing all of this crazy stuff that everybody were like, no. And then they were like, well, she's just gonna have to live with it. You know what I'm saying? But we might as well give her a chance. And Debbie Hickson was one of those same people, knowing that lady wasn't competent, knowing that lady was a problem, but she was willing to, walk across gas or walk on fire to make sure she got a chance, right? And that's just not okay. It's just too much of that, and I'm tired of it. I'm over it. You don't need to keep your job. I'm sorry. Go find something else to do. Just go do some more, find some more FTX people or whatever. And did that stuff and kind of walked away from that with no problems too. You understand? Like just associate with all kind of folks that's in all kind of mess, but ain't nobody trying to talk about that. They just gonna forget about that and be like, oh, don't talk about old stuff. Don't talk about old stuff. So yeah, no, I'm over it. High school students going through metal detectors this year. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, I understand that. I understand why they think they need to do that, but we have to just change our, I think that in terms of students having to go through metal detectors to go to school is not going to change until till the country change their relationship with guns in gun culture. So, I mean, since we're, I understand Second Amendment, and since people are just, yeah on that, we're gonna have to deal with this. We're gonna have to deal with this, right? All right. So I was talking about the NAACP. So y'all saw that. Figure out what y'all gonna do with seat 1. I think that one's going into November. Seat 2, I think it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer to me. 3, so I didn't know the young man that's running against Sarah Leonardi. I think he doesn't know enough. So because he went there like, I don't know. And listen, again, I'm one of those people that believe that people, even if you're doing a good job, you shouldn't run unopposed. But if someone's gonna run against you, they need to at least know something. So I think C3 is pretty much a shoe-in because that the young man, he might be a very nice guy, but he's not informed. He didn't know enough, and maybe he's gonna learn a whole bunch of stuff before the election start in like 10 days, maybe. But he needs to get on the forum and show that. But what I saw, he wasn't ready. It was too many things that he didn't know. And that we're not at a stage on the school board right now where there's time for any learning curves and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, it's too, no. It's too much to do for that to happen. Seat 5. So, both of those candidates have been on my show. I interviewed Jeff Holness last year. He won't come talk to me no more. So y'all go back and run back that interview. Run back that interview. Y'all can go ahead and watch it. It was a couple hours long. He answered. I think he tried to answer the questions. He answered some of the questions, but he won't come back. I don't know why. I don't know why he didn't want to come back. So he don't want to come back. And then Winsor Ferguson, who took the challenge to go ahead and run against him, because the people in District 5 were not always happy with what it is Jeff was doing. You know what I'm saying? And they there's word that he's being influenced by people that are no longer on the board. So you guys have a choice to make. Do you want to keep the same old going, or you want to go ahead and take a chance with a person who decided to step up and try to do something different for District 5? Because hey, I sense that many of the candidates did not know about. Oh no, they didn't. Yeah, they did not know about Project 2025. They didn't know about a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, they didn't know about that. They didn't know about it. Okay. So and then I already talked about 9. So yeah, no to Debbie Hickson. I'm not voting for her, and I am going to vote. I'm just not voting for her. All right. Okay. So I think that's it. We're at about like 45 minutes. I'm sure I hurt some people's feelings today. That's okay. My feelings were hurt yesterday. My feelings have been hurt by this board just way too many times. And so right now, I don't care, y'all. I don't care, because y'all be out here hurting people's feelings. Y'all out here having negative impact on people's kids. You know, it's enough. It's enough. I'm over it. Your show should not be blacklisted because you are a trusted voice in the community. All right, so people know why they come here. You know, they know why they come here. I don't say nothing that, you know, they know why they come here. And I don't know, blacklisted. I don't like those terms. I don't like that blacklisted term, but you know, it's what it is. But you know, people are gonna come and people are listening. People are here now listening. Spread the word. Go ahead and tell it. Maybe I get a phone call or 2 or 3 or whatever. I'll take them. I'm grown all day. So that's it. But I definitely had to come on and talk about what happened yesterday. And it wasn't, again, it was only just yesterday. It was just a pattern in practice. And you try to give people a passive. You try to put things in perspective. That's one of the things I try to put in perspective, and I try to understand what's happening. And yesterday it was clear. I understand. There's a whole bunch of bias happening on that board. They humanized one person and just didn't see the other one and didn't see any value in the other one. And that is not okay. And the only reason that was the case is because of race. Go call it, go say it was something else. It wasn't nothing else but that. And if it wasn't race, you wouldn't have been able to humanize one and not humanize the other. Not understand that those decisions would impact the financial security of another person. That would not understand that person was a mother. That person, you know, has been part of the community. That person invested, you would have humanized them too. And that wasn't done. And that's not okay. All right, y'all. So I'm going to go. I'm going to give y'all back some of y'all time. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. And have a good night. Have a good night. Have a good night. Elections happen.